Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. We're reading The Tragedy of X by Ellery Queen, Act 2, Scene 13. Residence of Frederick Lyman, Thursday, October 8 p.m. Mr. Drury Lane's limousine stopped at an apartment house on West End Avenue, and a doorman bowed the actor from his car to the foyer. Mr. Lyman, the doorman, manipulated a speaking tube. Mr. Drury Lane was conducted to an elevator carried skyward and deposited on the 16th floor. A Japanese showed his teeth in greeting and ushered him into a duplex apartment. A rather handsome man of medium height in dinner clothes with a round face, a white scar under his chin, a high, wide brow, and thin hair, came forward. The Japanese took Lane's cape, hat, and stick. The two men shook hands. "I know you by reputation, Mr. Lane," said Lyman, escorting Lane to an armchair in the library. "I needn't tell you it's an honor and a pleasure to receive you here. Lionel Brooks has told me of your interest in the DeWitt's case." He skirted a flat desk heaped with papers and legal books and sat down. "I take it you are encountering difficulties in your defense, Mr. Lyman." The lawyer slumped sideways in his chair and began fretfully to finger the scar under his chin. "Difficulties?" He moodily surveyed the litter on his desk. "The case is almost impossible, Mr. Lane, although I'm doing my best. I have assured DeWitt repeatedly that unless he alters his attitude, he's in for it, and he persists in that devastating clammishness of his. The trial's been on for days now. I can't get a thing out of him, and it looks black enough." Lane sighed contentedly. "Mr. Lyman, do you expect to have an adverse verdict turned in?" Lyman looked glum. "It seems inevitable." He spread his hands. "Bruno's been at his persuasive best. He's an infernally clever trial lawyer, and he's presented a very strong circumstantial case to the jury. I've watched those 12 good men and true, and there's no question but they're impressed. Idiots, the lot of 'em." Lane observed the lawyer's eyes were underscored with dull pouches. "Would you say, Mr. Lyman, that DeWitt's refusal to disclose the identity of his mysterious telephone caller is dictated by fear?" "Hell, I don't know." Lyman pressed a button, and the Japanese stole in bearing a tray. "You'll have something to drink, Mr. Lane, of course? A little creme de coco? I don't know what this fucking is. Cream of cocoa? Are we talking about? Is it hot cocoa? Are we drinking hot chocolate? What is anise? I mean, it reminds me of the main thing that's, part of, black licorice. But I don't know what this means in this context. ANISETTE? I assume it's some type of drink? Okay, I know I've been saying I'm going to try to avoid doing this because it kind of throws off the, fluidity of the reading. And no, I'm not talking about my whole going on tangents thing or that or reading other things. It's more along the lines, I was going to try to stop looking up definitions of things because I kind of felt it ruined, the experience of reading the book. Not that there's anyone enjoying listening to me reading about this shit. I'm the only one enjoying this story. I'm enjoying this story immensely. This is amazing, incredible story. I just don't think I'm doing it any justice reading it. But I'm enjoying it. Much like the rest of my channel. I enjoy all the videos I post. Granted, some of them I kind of didn't enjoy at some point. Like at one point I made, it was like a 5.5 hour long video. You guys know the song Banana Phone? Doot 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 doot. Banana Phone. I sang it like 100+ times in a row without stopping. From beginning to end. And I'm pretty sure by repetition 30, I was ready to put my head through a wall. And yet I kept doing it. Just as a nod to an old Newgrounds Flash animation. Then again, I don't know if anyone remembers what a Newgrounds.com was or what even Flash animation was. It was a type of media software that doesn't exist anymore. Back in the early days of the interwebs, before YouTube existed. But yeah, granted, I have sang a few songs a couple times in a row, like practice something, or even just did a song a few times here and there, or occasionally come back to a song. But it's a whole different animal, a whole different monster. Just take a song, whether it's a song you're familiar with or not, and to just sing it on repeat with no distractions. You're not even letting yourself go on a tangent. You're trying to force yourself to stay. And granted, at some point you're going to get distracted, or your mind is just going to forcibly wander at that point to anything else. Plus your voice is going to be hurting and getting hoarse. But the idea is this: pick a song and sing it from beginning to end. And then, once you get to the end, immediately start back from the beginning, again, without stopping. And just do it again and again and again. Pick any song. But yeah, imagine if you picked a song like Disturbed or System of a Down. Though granted, a lot of System of a Down songs are kind of quick, and I can't do the yelling stuff. I'm just not built for that. I just don't have the vocal timbre of someone like Markiplier. I just don't have that natural gifted singing ability that he does. That being said, pick a song that has a lot of words in it. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of songs by Korn that are amazing, but there's a lot of points in the middle of the song where you just sort of, there's no words. And that doesn't work for the type of masochism that I'm suggesting to all of you. I'm suggesting pick a song that from beginning to end has words being spoken and doesn't really have any downtime, pretty much hardly at all. Maybe a few little bits here and there to catch your breath, because again, I don't know how these people fucking breathe. Let alone there are some really fast-paced songs where people are saying a lot of words really quickly, and it's unless you know exactly what you're saying, it is so difficult to enunciate those words, and you just it becomes tongue twisting. But yeah, pick a song. Heck, try Banana Phone yourself, guys. Now you're just type in YouTube, type in Banana Phone. You'll get the song. Try singing that song out loud. Just like put that video on loop. It's like a 3-minute video. But yeah. So, I mean, yeah, there have been some videos where I've done things. Don't get me wrong. There's like Super Meat Boy. I was cussing so much. Same way of various rhythm games I've done, like Thumper or heck, other, platformers like Jubilee. That was a bit harsh at times. Heck, Splasher. It was a mix of just cussing and noises that when you listen back to it, it's like I'm making. There's no better way to describe it other than I'm just making lots of femboy noises. So, I mean, there's no other way to describe the Splasher playthrough as me playing a platformer where half the time I'm cussing and the other half the time I'm making what can only be described as femboy noises. And I'm like, what the fuck, guys? The fuck? It's like Lunar... It's like... Whatever. It's like, you guys know what I'm about. Fuck. It's like... But at the same time, I'm trying to keep things in good taste. I'm like trying to avoid making too many hentai or lewd jokes because it's, kind of inappropriate. Nothing wrong with that stuff, but I'm like, it's like if you're watching a Mortal Kombat movie and you're like, maybe there's too much violence in this, guys. It's like, I know we're known for this, but it's like, am I being myself too much? Then again, this is a place for me to talk about a filter. Then again, of course I'm going to do what I'm doing right now and poking fun at myself. But at the same time, it's just... It's definitely cringy listening to the videos and be like, yep, that there's no better representation of my personality. But it's just, like I cussed a lot in the Super Meat Boy video, but I enjoyed making the video. Heck, there was a lot of times I did karaoke videos where I was like hurting my voice and I was like occasionally had a coughing fit or just like, but I enjoyed the video. Granted, there may be a few videos I didn't necessarily enjoy that were not like Banana Phone. I knew I was getting into in that. I knew it was going to be a bit annoying to even myself. But then there's times where I just made a video where it was like, and it just went completely off the rails. And we're doing like a 9+ hour video about random bullshit. Heck, at one point, like 4.5 something years ago, I made like a 13.5 hour video. It's not on YouTube, but I spent like 7+ hours of that crying and screaming volumes while laughing. Apparently there's a limit to how much stress a human body can handle because I eventually just started vomiting and like shaking a bunch and getting lightheaded and dizzy. So it's like I was really sad. But yeah. No, that's not on YouTube. Not because it's too cringy, because let's be honest, everything I post is cringy. And everything I post makes me look bad. So it's not about, oh, I can't be cringe or I can't say this because it makes me look bad, because I don't give a fuck. Everything I say, like, I understand. I'm not exactly a very likable person. I am me. Grantedly, if people listening to this like me and enjoy my voice and enjoy how I, relate myself to all of you and how I am in terms of my personality, yay, I'll take the fucking compliment. Heck, if you guys could, I would like a hug. I don't remember what a hug feels like, and that makes me sad. I have hugs deficiency. Who else could use a hug? Because
Then again, I feel like I ideally, if I had access, I would probably have like 100 hugs a day, if not 1,000. But I don't see that ever happening. So it's like, whatever. But hey, it's important to talk about things. So you may not be able to ever have a hug again, but you can at least mention that it makes you sad that you don't have a hug. So who else would like a hug but is not readily receiving hugs? Does anyone else relate to me on that? Main point is this: if you guys do like me, or in terms of you like listening to my voice, or watching me play games, or reading books, or doing karaoke, or whatever the fuck it is I do, because I don't really stay focused on anything. I jump around a bit. But if you enjoy whatever my channel is, thank you. I do appreciate that. I may be a bit of a tsundere, but I really do appreciate it. It just feels awkward to tell you that. That being said, if no one likes me, that's fine. I still enjoy making the videos. But at the end of the day, is like that one video. Like, rather, I played the video and used OBS to record a couple, like 2 videos out of it. One where I was singing Scatman, another one where I was singing a Bendy song. It's like an anime type video game thing. But for the most part, the rest of it just, and like I said, it's not that I don't have the video up because it's cringy or makes me look bad, because I don't fucking give a shit. I don't care if I look bad or people think I'm stupid or think I'm a pathetic loser. Heck, I am a pathetic loser. I don't fucking care. It don't fucking matter to me. I do not care. I am cringe. I fucking accept that. And I'm just me. That's cool. I don't give a fuck about that. What I do give a fuck about is the sounds I made while I was crying so much made me feel really sad listening to it. It's not that it was, oh, this is cringy or make me look bad. It's that listening to it made me actively feel very sad. And I don't want to hear myself make those noises again. I don't want to make those noises again. Making them in the first place was exceptionally unpleasant. Though parts of me wonder if I had saved that recording, I could have like spliced them in to make a fucking horror game, like the new Silent Hill or some shit. Because at the end of the day, it's not an issue of the shit being cringe or making me look bad. It's an issue of it was painful to make those noises. It was painful to feel that way. It was painful to hear myself crying like that. And it made me sad. And I was like, yeah. It's like, no. It's like I just, it's not, fucking sucked ass, guys. It's just, that's the best way. But I was going to try to look up things and I got distracted. And that's another thing. I get easily distracted. So just trying to type something and I'm like, oh, we're going to read stuff off TV tropes, guys. And okay, creme de coco. Like, what do you mean by that in this? And like the other word looks like something out of like that's a thing in black, licorice, right? Okay, but how is this? Oh, it's a chocolate liqueur. So it's like alcohol in chocolate. It's an alcoholic beverage made of a spirit base like vodka, rum, or whiskey, infused with chocolate flavor ranging from sweet and creamy to dark and bitter. It can be enjoyed neat on the rocks, in cocktails like a chocolate martini, or used to enhance desserts and coffee. Are there people pouring chocolate liqueur into coffee? Huh. Now what about the other word? Like, I assume it's a black licorice thing then? It is also a liqueur, a sweet, clear anise, which I assume is black licorice, because that's the other word for black licorice, right? Flavored liqueur from France, known for its licorice-like taste from aniseed, often with hints of citrus, vanilla, and herbs, and it becomes cloudy, louches when mixed with water. It's enjoyed chilled on the rocks, cocktail distinct from pastis, being sweeter and typically lower in alcohol. Okay. So it's like black licorice alcohol. Okay. Okay, we're back to reading a book because I got distracted easily. No thank you, black coffee perhaps. The Japanese disappeared. I'll tell you frankly, Mr. Lane, continued Lyman. Let me switch hands. So awkward, I gotta be careful. Okay. Okay. Plucking at a paper before him. DeWitt has puzzled me from the start. I really don't know if he's merely resigned or has something up his sleeve. If it's resignation, he's sealed his own fate. I've done my best. Bruno rested for the state this afternoon, as you know, I suppose, and I launch my defense tomorrow morning. I saw Grimm in his chambers after the day's proceedings, and the old man was more reticent than usual. As for Bruno, he's out for blood, or he's pretty confident, because one of my men overheard him saying that the case is in the bag. Yet I've always said, from the things I've seen in the law business, that Bay so grosser, Gafar Comte de Lichtest, Hafnug, and Anschlag. I know I want to learn German, but I don't know I don't know what that translates to. A truism worthy of Shakespeare, murmured Lane. What have you planned in defense? All I can do, and again, it's like I could look that up, but do you guys want me to look things up? Like, does that ruin the pacing of my horrible reading of this story? Like, I'm enjoying reading this story, but I don't feel like I'm doing it in a way that would be enjoyable for anyone to listen to. But I'm enjoying it. All I can do is present the alternative of Bruno's argument. That is, the frame-up plea. Of course, said Lyman, I've already attempted on cross-examination to discredit Bruno, and one particular guying him before the jury on his inability to explain how Wood could have discovered DeWitt's guilt, even considering that DeWitt had been on Wood's streetcar twice after the murder. After all, he was in the habit of taking that car, and I made the jury understand that thoroughly. But what was Bruno's weakness does not counteract. I'm afraid the direct evidence of the cigar and Wood's dead body, that's a hard nut to crack. Lane accepted. Oh, there's actually a little annotation down here. In so great a danger, the faintest hope should be considered. Okay. Where was I? Liberate your mind, motherfucker. Imagine I just started living. Again, imagine like you sang a song 100 times in a row of any song. But it's a song that requires a lot of speaking. And that's not all, continued Lyman, shrugging. DeWitt has been his own worst enemy. If only he hadn't told the police that he had never given Wood a cigar anywhere, I might have been able to cook up a line of defense that would be convincing. And then the way he lied that night, disgusting. He drained the tiny glass. First he said he was on the ferry for one trip, then admitted having been on for 4 trips. That fishy story about his collar, to tell you the truth, I don't blame Bruno. For jeering at it.
In court, if I didn't know DeWitt as I do, I'd disbelieve it too. But you cannot, said Lane quietly, accept the jury to accept your personal appraisal of DeWitt in the face of the evidence. Quite so, Mr. Lyman. From your tone this evening, it is evident that you anticipate the worst, perhaps. He smiled and put down the coffee cup. Perhaps we can make capital of Ghost's faintest hope by united effort. Lyman shook his head. I don't see how, much as I appreciate your offer of assistance. Legally, my best bet is to attempt to throw so many question marks at Bruno's circumstantial case that the jury will bring in a verdict of not guilty because of reasonable doubt. It's a long shot, but my best line of attack. With DeWitt stubbornly keeping his mouth shut, any attempt to prove his innocence would be so much wasted breath. Lane closed his eyes, and Lyman was silent, studying the heroic head curiously. The actor opened his eyes, and Lyman saw genuine amazement in their gray depths. Do you know, Mr. Lyman, he murmured, it is a matter of complete astonishment to me that not one of the keen minds surveying this case has pierced the veil of non-essentials and seen the, to me at least, perfectly photographic truth beneath. Something leaped into Lyman's face, a hope, a haggard wish. Do you mean, he asked quickly, that you are in possession of a pertinent fact of which the rest of us know nothing? Something that will prove DeWitt's innocence. Lane folded his hands. Tell me, Mr. Lyman, do you honestly believe DeWitt did not kill Wood? The lawyer murmured, That's not a fair question. Lane wagged his head, smiling. Well, let it go. As for this photographic truth which I mentioned a moment ago, your instant conclusion that I have discovered something new, Mr. Lyman. I know only what Inspector Thum, District Attorney Bruno, you yourself, from your study of the facts and circumstances surrounding the fatal night, could know. I have the feeling that DeWitt, who has a sharp brain, would have seen the truth under different conditions, perhaps where he was not himself the central figure. Lyman had jumped impatiently from his chairs. For heaven's sake, Mr. Lane, he cried, what is it? Good Lord, I find myself actually hoping again. Sit down, Mr. Lyman, said Lane kindly. Listen carefully. Make notes, if you will. One moment, sir, one moment. Lyman ran to a cabinet and hurried back with a curious apparatus. Here's a dictaphone. Talk to your heart's content, Mr. Lane. I'll study it all night and shoot the works in the morning. Lyman took a drawer of his desk, a black wax cylinder, adjusted it to the instrument, and handed Lane the mouthpiece. Lane spoke softly into the dictaphone. At 9:30, Lane left a jubilant Lyman. All trace of fatigue vanished from his shining eyes, his fingers already clawing for the telephone. My voice is getting scratchy. Scene 14. Criminal Courts Building. Friday, October 9, 9:30 a.m. Judge Grimm, a small, dour old man enveloped in black robes, entered majestically. An attendant pounded with a gavel, a roaring ritual, the rustle and whisper of people, and the 5th day of the trial of John O. DeWitt for the murder of Charles Wood began in a hushed hush that ebbed into the corridors beyond the courtroom. The room was crowded with spectators in the enclosure before the judge's bench. Flanking the court stenographer's desk were 2 tables. At one sat District Attorney Bruno, Inspector Thum, and a small corps of legal assistants. At the other sat Frederick Lyman, John DeWitt, Lionel Brooks, Roger Sheldon, and several clerks. Beyond the railing, familiar faces bobbed in the sea of heads. In a corner not far from the jury box sat Mr. Drury Lane. Hey, it's me, guys. It's Lunar right there. In the seat next to him, the dwarfed figure of Quasi. On the other side of the room, in a group were Franklin Ahern, Jean DeWitt, Christopher Lord, Louis Imperial, and Jorgens, DeWitt's butler. Near them were Cherry Brown, a ravishing study in black, and the saturnine Pollux. Michael Collins, biting his lips, sat alone, as did Anna Platt, Longstreet's secretary, and far to the rear, a veil over her face, sat Mrs. Fern DeWitt, inscrutable and motionless. Preliminaries over. The preliminaries over. A rejuvenated Lyman rose briskly, stepped from behind the table.
Okay, guys. What do you guys... I feel like I'm not even finished with this, and I'm like, I want to read more stuff about Drury Lane.
The preliminaries over. A rejuvenated Lyman rose briskly, stepped from behind the table.
I want brisk iced tea and cans of lemon.
Glanced cheerfully at the jury, grinned over at the district attorney, and stated to the court, "Your Honor, as my first witness for the defense, I call upon the defendant, John O. DeWitt, to take the stand." Bruno half rose from his chair, staring. Inspector Thum, in the surprised buzz that swept through the courtroom, shook his head in bewilderment. The district attorney's face, heretofore calmly assured, became intangibly expressive of worry. He leaned over to Thum, whispering behind his hand, "What the devil is Lyman up his sleeve, calling the defendant in a murder trial? Giving me a chance to get at him?" Thum shrugged, and Bruno sank back, muttering to himself, "Something's in the air." John O. DeWitt, duly sworn, giving the oath his name and address, in a quiet, tight tone, sat down in the witness chair, folded his hands, and waited. There was lethal silence in the courtroom. DeWitt, his puny figure, his self-possessed, almost detached manner were mysterious and imponderable. The jury hitched forward to the edges of their seats. Lyman said, quite amiably, "Your age?" 51. Occupation: stockbroker. I was, before Mr. Longstreet's death, senior partner in the firm of DeWitt and Longstreet. Mr. DeWitt, will you please relate to the court and the jury the events of the evening of Wednesday, September the 9th? Between the time you left your office and the time you reached the Weehawken ferry. DeWitt said in an almost conversational tone, "I left my branch office at Times Square at 5:30 and took the subway downtown to the Exchange Club on Wall Street. I went to the gymnasium with the intention of exercising a bit before dinner, perhaps taking a plunge in the pool. In the gymnasium, I cut my right forefinger on a piece of apparatus, a long, ugly gash which bled immediately. The club physician, Dr. Morris, immediately treated the wound, staunching the blood and disinfecting the gash. Morris wanted to bandage the finger, but I didn't think it was necessary, and—" "One moment, Mr. DeWitt," interrupted Lyman blandly. "You say you didn't think it was necessary to bandage your finger. Wasn't it rather that you are sensitive about your personal appearance and—" Bruno leaped to his feet, objecting to the question as leading. Judge Grimm sustained the objection. Lyman, smiling, said, "Was there any other reason for refusing to have your finger bandaged?" "Yes, I intended to stay at the club most of the evening, and since the wound had stopped bleeding through Dr. Morris's ministrations, I preferred not to be inconvenienced with an awkward bandage. It would also have necessitated my answering friendly questions about the accident, and I am rather sensitive about these things." Bruno was on his feet again, wrangle roars shut. Judge Grimm silenced the district attorney and motioned Lyman to proceed. "Continue with your story, Mr. DeWitt. Dr. Morris told me to be careful of the finger, since a twist or bump would reopen the wound, and it would bleed again. I redressed with some difficulty, foregoing my swim, and went to the club restaurant with my friend Franklin A. Hearn, with whom I had made a dinner appointment. We dined, spent the evening in the club with other business acquaintances of mine. I was asked to join in a game of contract bridge. I don't know what the fuck that is, but was forced to refuse because of my hand. At 10:10, I left the club and was driven by a cab to the ferry terminal at the foot of 42nd Street. Bruno was on his feet again, protesting violently the testimony as incompetent, irrelevant, and immaterial, demanding that all the defendant's testimony be stricken off the record. Lyman said, "Your Honor, the defendant's testimony as given is pertinent and relevant, and important in building up a defense which will prove his innocence of the crime with which he is charged." A few moments further discussion, and Judge Grimm overruled the district attorney's objection, motioning Lyman to continue. But Lyman turned to Bruno and said in an agreeable tone, "Your witness, Mr. Bruno." Bruno hesitated, scowled, then rose and viciously assailed Dr. DeWitt. I don't know why he suddenly became a doctor. Fuck. For 15 minutes, the courtroom was in an uproar, as Bruno badgered DeWitt, attempting to shake his story, to bring out facts relating to Longstreet. These Lyman inexorably objected, and was sustained in every objection. Finally, after a dry reprimand from Judge Grimm, the district attorney waved his arm and sat down and mopping his forehead. DeWitt stepped from the stand, paler than usual, and returned to his seat at the defense table. "I call him as my second witness," announced Lyman, Franklin A. Heard. DeWitt's friend, wearing a look of complete stupefaction, rose. Imagine if I just sang the song Stupefy by Disturbed 100 times in a row. It'd be 6 hours of me butchering Disturbed as a band. It's a great band. I'm not very good at singing. I have so much karaoke, some of it in German, to attain to that. Grant, I have tried to do some singing in, like, Hebrew and Spanish and French. Tried a little Japanese stuff. It was really bad. From the group of which he was sitting, and walked down the aisle and through the gate to the witness stand. He was sworn in, gave his full name as Benjamin Franklin Ahern, and his West Englewood address. Lyman, hands in his pockets, asked mildly, "You are engaged in what occupation or profession, Mr. Ahern?" "I am a retired engineer. Do you know the defendant?" Ahern glanced at DeWitt and smiled. "Yes, sir, for 6 years. We are neighbors, and he is my best friend." Lyman said sharply, "Please answer only the question asked. Now, Mr. Ahern, did you meet the defendant at the Exchange Club on the evening of Wednesday, September the 9th? "Yes. Everything Mr. DeWitt said is true." Lyman again said sharply, "Please answer only the question asked." Bruno, who had grasped the arms of his chair, closed his mouth, settled back, and kept his eyes on the face of Ahern, as if he had never seen the man before. "I did meet Mr. DeWitt at the Exchange Club on the evening stated." "At what time, and where did you first see him?" "That evening, a few minutes before 7, we met in the foyer of the dining room and immediately went in to dinner." "Were you with the defendant continually from that moment until 10:10? "Yes, sir." "Did he leave the club and you at 10:10 as he had just testified?" "Yes, sir." "Mr. Ahern, as Mr. DeWitt's best friend, would you say that he is sensitive about his personal appearance or not?" I do say decidedly that he is sensitive about his personal appearance." "Then would you say that his decision not to have his hand bandaged was consistent with the trait of his character?" Simultaneously with Ahern's hearty "undoubtedly," Bruno objected to the question and answer, and was sustained by the court, both being stricken from the record. "Did you notice Mr. DeWitt's hurt finger during the dinner that night?" "Yes, I noticed it even before we went into the dining room, and I commented upon it." Mr. DeWitt related the story of his accident in the gymnasium, and allowed me to examine the finger. "Then you saw the finger. What was the condition of the wound when you examined it?" "It was raw and ugly looking, a long, deep gash about 1.5 inches long on the underside side of the finger. It had stopped bleeding, and the cut had already formed a rudimentary scab of dried blood." "Did anything occur over the dining table or anything other which bears up upon this point, Mr. Ahern. Ahern sat thoughtfully in silence, stroking his jaw. He looked up. Yes, Mr. DeWitt, I observed, held his right hand rather rigidly all evening, and at the dinner table used only his left hand for eating purposes. It was necessary for the waiter to cut Mr. DeWitt's chop. Your witness, Mr. Bruno. Bruno strode up and down before the witness stand. Ahern waited quietly. Bruno thrust his jaw and eyed Ahern with hostility. You testified a moment ago that you are the defendant's best friend. His best friend, Mr. Ahern? You wouldn't perjure yourself for your best friend, would you, Mr. Ahern? Lyman stood up, smiling, objected. Even as someone in the jury box tittered, Judge Grimm sustained. Bruno glanced at the jury as if to say, well, you get the idea. Anyhow, he turned squarely on Ahern again. Did you know where the defendant was going after he left you at 10:10 that evening? No. How is it that you did not leave with the defendant? The defendant. Mr. DeWitt said he had an appointment with whom he didn't say, and of course I didn't ask. What did you do after the defendant left the club? Lyman was on his feet again, wearily smiling. Another objection. Again, Judge Grimm sustained, and Bruno, with a little gesture of disgust, released the witness. Lyman came forward confidently for my third witness, he said, in a deliberate drawl, and glanced at the prosecutor's table. Inspector Thum. Inspector Thum started guiltily like a boy caught stealing apples. He looked at Bruno, and Bruno shook his head. The inspector lumbered to his feet, and glaring at Lyman, took the oath, thudded into the witness chair, and sat truculently. Lyman seemed to be enjoying himself. He glanced in friendly fashion at the jury, as if to say, you see, I'm not even afraid to call the great Inspector Thum in defense of my client. He wagged his finger roguishly at Thum. Inspector Thum, you were in charge of the police investigations on the ferryboat Mohawk when Charles Wood was discovered murdered. I was. Where were you standing just before the body was fished from the river? On the upper passenger deck, north side of the boat, at the railing. Were you alone? No, slapped Thum, tightening his mouth shut. Who was with you? The defendant and a Mr. Drury Lane. Some of my men were on the deck too, but only DeWitt and Lane were at the rail with me. Did you notice at this time that Mr. DeWitt's finger was cut? Yes. How did you come to notice it? He was leaning against the rail, holding his right hand stiffly upwards, his elbow on the rail. I asked him what was the matter, and he said he had cut himself at the club that evening. Did you observe the cut closely? What do you mean, closely? I saw it. I've just told you that. Now, Inspector, don't lose your temper. Please describe the appearance of the wound as you saw it at that moment. Thum shot a baffled glance at the district attorney below, but Bruno's head was resting between his hands, his ears alert. Thum shrugged and said, well, the finger was swollen a bit. The cut looked sort of raw. There was dried blood scab formed over the entire length of the cut. It's the sound of Lunar D8 struggling to turn pages. The entire length of the cut, Inspector, the scab was absolutely one piece, not broken anywhere. A look of wonderment crept over Thum's hard face, and his voice lost its hostile note. Yes, it looked very stiff. Would you describe the cut, then, as fairly well healed, Inspector? Yes. Then it was not a brand new cut that you saw. That is, you would say the skin had not been lacerated just before you observed it at the railing. I don't know what you mean exactly. I'm not a doctor. Lyman pulled his upper lip, smiling. Very well, Inspector. I'll phrase the question differently. Was the cut that you saw a fresh cut just made? Thum squirmed. That's a foolish question. How could it be a fresh cut when there was a scab on it? Lyman grinned. Exactly the point, Inspector. Now, Inspector Thum, please tell the court and the jury what happened after you noticed Mr. DeWitt's wound. The body was grappled at that moment, and we made a dash of the stairway leading down to the lower deck. Did anything pertaining to Mr. DeWitt's wound occur as you were doing this? Thum said sullenly. Yes. The defendant reached the door first, and grabbed the knob to open the door for Mr. Lane and me. He sort of cried out, and we saw that the cut on the finger had opened. It was bleeding. Lyman leaned forward and tapped Thum's beefy knee, emphasizing each word. The scab opened, and the wound began to bleed merely from the defendant grasping the doorknob. Bruno shook his head in a helpless way as Thum hesitated. Bruno's eyes were tragic. Thum mumbled, "Yes." Lyman continued rapidly. "Did you get a good look at the wound after it began to bleed?" "Yes." DeWitt held his hand up for a moment while reaching for his handkerchief, and we saw the scab had split in several pieces and blood was oozing from the broken places. Then he wrapped his hand in the handkerchief, and we continued downstairs. "Are you prepared to swear, Inspector, that the bleeding cut you saw at the door was exactly the same cut you saw unopened at the railing a moment before?" Thum said resignedly, "Yes, yes." But Lyman was persistent. "There was no new cut at all. No, not even a new scratch." "No. That's all, Inspector. Your witness, Mr. Bruno," said Lyman with a significant smile at the jury. He stepped away. Bruno shook his head impatiently, and Thum descended from the rostrum, his face a study in mingled emotions: disgust, astonishment, understanding. As Lyman moved forward again, the spectators on edge with excitement whispering to each other, the press staff frantically writing, attendants clamoring for order, District Attorney Bruno slowly turned his head and surveyed the courtroom, as if seeking a face. I'm greatly enjoying reading this. Is anyone enjoying listening to this? Lyman, calm and assured, called Dr. Morris to the witness stand. The Exchange Club physician, a middle-aged man with an ascetic face, stepped from the audience, took the oath, gave his name as Hugh Morris and his address, and sat down on the witness chair. "Are you a medical doctor?" "Yes." "Place of occupation?" "Official physician at the Exchange Club on the visiting staff of the building." The Belouvre Hospital. Your experience as a licensed physician, doctor. I have been practicing under a New York State medical license for 21 years. Do you know the defendant? Yes, I have known him for 10 years, the period in which he has been a member of the Exchange Club. You have heard the testimony of witnesses concerning a cut which Mr. DeWitt suffered on the forefinger of his right hand in club gymnasium. The evening of September 9th. Is the testimony given so far concerning what happened in the gymnasium correct, in every particular, to the best of your knowledge and belief? Yes. Why did you warn the defendant to be careful of his finger after you refused to allow it to be bandaged? Because the wound was such that any sudden stricture which would flex the forefinger would reopen the cut. The gash extended across the two upper joints of the forefinger. The normal closing of the hand at any time, Wednesday night, for example, would have distended the lips of the gash and broken the scab which was bound to form. And that was your professional reason for having desired to bind the hand? Yes, for if the wound did open, as was likely from the exposed nature of its locality, it would have the antiseptic protection of the medicated bandage. Very good, Miss Dr. Dr. Morris, said Lyman quickly. Now you have heard the testimony of the preceding witness, describing the condition of the wound and its scab when he saw it at the rail of the boat. Could this wound, as the witness, Inspector Thum, described it, have been open, let us say, 15 minutes before he saw it, Dr. Morris? You mean, could the original wound have opened 15 minutes before Inspector Thum first saw it and have appeared as the inspector described it? Yes. The physician, with emphasis. The physician said with emphasis. Positively not. Why? Had it been opened even an hour before, it could not have been in the condition Inspector Thum described it, scabrous, unbroken, in one continuous piece, and all stiff and dry. Would you say, then, from Inspector Thum's description, that the wound had not been opened from the time you treated it at the club to the time the defendant grasped the doorknob on the ferry? Bruno was objecting strenuously at the same moment that the Dr. Morris coolly replied, yes. While the argument raged, Lyman kept glancing meaningly at the jury, who were whispering with some heat. Lyman smiled with serene satisfaction. Dr. Morris, could the defendant have grasped and lifted a 200-pound object a few minutes before Inspector Thum saw his wound at the railing in the condition described, and shoved or hurled it over the railing and beyond the 2.5-foot shelf without opening that wound. Again, Bruno had jumped to his feet, perspiring with anger, objecting with all the energy of his lungs. But Judge Grimm, I am now struggling with book. Lunar needs books that turn their own pages. Overruled him, indicating that the professional opinion solicited was pertinent to the defense argument. Dr. Morris said, absolutely not. He could not have done what you have just described without opening the wound. With a plain smile of triumph, Liam said, you may cross-examine, Mr. Bruno. Another uproar, and Bruno sucked his lower lip and scowled at the physician. He weaved back and forth before the witness stand like a caged animal. Dr. Morris, Judge Grimm, was hammering for silence. Bruno paused until the courtroom was still. Dr. Morris, on oath, and under the guise of your professional knowledge and experience, you have just testified that the healed condition of the defendant's wound, as described by our prior witnesses, indicates that the defendant could not have used his right hand to throw a 200-pound object over the rail without opening the cut. Lyman said, without excitement, objection, Your Honor. That was not the question to which the witness answered affirmatively. My question included, besides the railing, the 2.5-foot shelf, which runs along the sides of the Mohawk's upper deck. Restate the question correctly, Mr. District Attorney, said Judge Grimm. Bruno complied. Dr. Morris replied calmly, that is what I said yes to, and I would stake my reputation on my opinion. Lyman, back at the defense table, whispered to Brooks, poor Bruno. He's more rattled than I've ever seen him before. Imagine him pressing that point on the jury by repetition. But Bruno was not done. He said menacingly, to which hand were you referring, doctor? To the hand with the cut finger. The right hand, of course. But the defendant could have used his left hand to perform the aforementioned act without opening the wound on his right. Naturally, if he didn't use his right hand, he wouldn't open the cut on his right hand. Bruno looked hard at the journey, as if to say, you see, all this hullabaloo doesn't mean a thing, doesn't apply at all. DeWitt could have done it with his left hand. He sat down with an uncertain grin. Dr. Morris began to descend from the stand, but Lyman was already demanding the right to recall the witness. The doctor sat down, a glint of amusement in his eyes. Dr. Morris, you have just heard the district attorney insinuate that the defendant could have disposed of the body of the deceased by using only his left hand. In your opinion, could the defendant, using only his left hand and handicapped with an injured right hand, have lifted the 200-pound unconscious body of Charles Wood and shoved or hurled it over the railing and beyond the shelf to fall from the boat? No. Why? I have known Mr. DeWitt professionally for years. I know that he is right-handed, for one thing, and that his left arm, as is usual with dexterous persons, is the weaker member. I know that, small, frail, weighing only 115 pounds. Well, fuck you too, man. Fuck you too. It's like Mr. DeWitt couldn't have done it because he's a pussy. I mean, damn it. It's like, I mean, you're right, but, and it's helping me in the case, but, fuck. It's like, I know you're a doctor, but you gotta treat that wound now too, man. Fuck. Shit. He is a weak man physically. I would say from these facts that it would be impossible for a 115-pound man using only one arm, that the weaker of the two, to do what you have described with the dead weight of a 200-pound body. Plus, even if he's not using his right hand to move the body, have you guys ever, lifted a fucking weight? I know I'm not fucking jacked, but I do try to lift anyway. And I'll tell you this, when you're lifting something with one hand, the other hand's tense, even if you're only lifting a one-handed dumbbell. So, more than likely, if you have a scab in your right hand, you try to lift something with your left hand, even if it doesn't require your full body weight, you're still going to, if it's anything that's more exertion than just lifting like a can of Pepsi, you're going to somehow damage the fucking right hand. To do what you have described with the dead weight of a 200-pound body. The noise was deafening. Several newspaper men ran out of... You know what we're not going to run out of, guys? The sound of me struggling to turn pages in a book. I'm going to turn the fan on. It's too fucking hot. It's getting warmer out there, guys. Oh, my back. I have to go to bed soon. And then go back to work. I forgot where I am in the book. Right, just turn it. The courtroom, the members of the jury were talking excitedly, nodding their heads. Bruno was on his feet, face purple, shouting, but no one paid any attention to him while court attendants made stentorian efforts to restore order. When the tumult had subsided, Bruno, in a gurgling voice, asked for an adjournment of 2 hours to secure further medical opinion. Judge Grimm snarled, "If there is any repetition of this disgraceful scene during the remainder of the trial, I will have the courtroom cleared and the doors closed." Motion for adjournment granted. Court adjourned until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Somebody rapped with a gavel. Everyone rose and awaited until Judge Grimm had swept out of the courtroom to his private chambers. Then pandemonium broke loose again as feet scraped, voices argued, and the jury retired. DeWitt, his poise ripped off, sat panting in his chair, an expression of incredulous relief on his white face. Brooks was pumping Lyman's hand in congratulations. "Most astounding defense I've heard in years, Fred." As the noise swirled about them, District Attorney Bruno and Inspector Thum sat at the prosecutor's table, regarding each other in half-humorous anger. Newspaper reporters had surrounded the defense table now, and a court attendant was having difficulty I know it's not extricating. Extricating? DeWitt from the press. Thum leaned forward. "Bruno's folly," he grunted. "Well, old hoss, the joke's on you." "On us, Thum. On us," snapped Bruno. "You're as much the goat as I am. After all, it's your department to collect evidence, mine to present it." "Well, I can't deny that," said Thum grumpily. "We're the two prize idiots of New York," groaned Bruno, slapping his papers into the briefcase. "You had the facts at your fingertips all the time, and never once made the obvious leap to the truth." "No comeback there," rumbled Thum. I'm some sort of nanny, it's true." "But after all," he said feebly, "you certainly saw DeWitt's hand wrapped in the handkerchief that night, and you never thought to ask questions about it." Bruno dropped his bag suddenly. His face flamed. "I'd like to see Fred Lyman take credit for this, damn it. That's what rankles. Let me hear open his yap. Why, it's as plain as the nose on your ugly face that—" "Sure," growled the inspector. "Lane, of course, the old coot," he exclaimed softly, "just plain bamboozled us, by God, and it serves us right for doubting him." They twisted about in their chairs and looked the emptying courtroom over. Lane was nowhere to be seen. "Must have ducked out," said Bruno, disconsolately.
I saw him here before. Well, Thum, it's our own fault. He warned us not to go through with this in the beginning, he started. Come to think of it, he muttered, he seemed willing enough later on to let us prosecute DeWitt, and he had this defense in his hat all the time. I wonder why. Me too. I wonder why he preferred to take chances with DeWitt's life. Not much he wasn't, said Thum dryly. Not with that defense. He knew he could get DeWitt off. I'll tell you one thing, though. He rose, stretching his simian arms, shaking himself like a shaggy mastiff. That's a big fuzzy dog, by the way. From now on, my friend, little Thumi listens to Drury Lane with respect, especially when he's on the subject of Mr. X. Hey, guys! In the next video, we'll start Act 3. Yay! And we are just shy of 1 hour. Thanks for joining me, everyone, and I don't know. Type hugs in the comment or whatever. Bye.